Hey there, welcome to my channel. Today I want to show you how I made this juicy, sweet, plump, snappy turkey cranberry sausage. All right, well, let's just dive right into this. All right, what I have here is a turkey. Had it defrosting for several days, although it's still a little frosty. It's actually been defrosting for a day longer than it said it would need. But I've got the neck out, got the giblets, the liver, the heart. I'm going to use that for a gravy. And yeah, this is just a regular store-bought turkey. You know, they're giving these things away for free right about now. At least at my local store. If you buy just the amount of groceries I buy anyway, they're giving them away. So I figured might as well, right? Like any other bird, just going to break it apart. Really just means getting in between the joints, right? You can usually find the joint, cut right through it. I'm going to flip her over. And it's just kind of the same thing. Find where that joint is, and we'll cut through it. Sometimes it does help to just kind of move it around until you find it. There it is, right there's the seam, the joint rather, right through it. Try doing it right-handed. I'm left-handed, so really my camera is not set up in the best place for this particular task. And then we'll come over here, make sure to get this thermometer thing out. You know, never use those anyway. If you're cooking a whole turkey, these are bullshit. Get a real thermometer. And then we'll just remove the breast meat by cutting down the side of the bone and then going outwards. Now I got my pieces, my legs and thighs, got my breasts. Probably not going to get a whole lot of meat off the wings, but I might try to get some off. And carcass I will definitely use for stock. So let me get this organized off camera. I'll be back to start making my different sausages. I'll be making 3 different sausages out of this turkey. So yeah, I'll be right back. All right, now my turkey's broken down. I'm going to remove the skin, keep that in a separate pile, because I'm going to use that as the fat component for at least one of my sausages. And I'm going to cut up my white meat into pieces that'll fit in my grinder. And I'm going to do the same with the dark meat. Remove the skin, save that as a separate fat component for some of the sausages. And I'm going to cut up this dark meat also into pieces that will fit into my grinder. And I'm going to keep the dark meat and the white meat separate. And of course, I will save the bones for stock. Never waste the bones. That would just be silly. There's a lot of good flavor and good nutrition in those bones. All right, I'm going to get my spices together for my turkey cranberry sausage, starting with some allspice, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of coriander. Usually I would take my whole spices and toast them up, but this is such a small amount and I'm just feeling lazy, so I'm not going to. But if you wanted to toast these up, that would be a great touch. I'm going to go grind these up. Be right back. All right, continuing on. I'm going to weigh up some salt. Going to use some white pepper. If you want to use black pepper, go ahead. I'm just choosing to use white pepper today. A little touch of brown sugar. If you want to use plain white sugar, go ahead. I just want a little extra depth of flavor I'm going to get from the brown sugar. Going to add a little touch of ground ginger. And I'm just going to add a little tiny touch of nutmeg and a very small amount of ground cardamom. You feel free to play around these spices. Basically, anything that you would put into a cranberry sauce probably be good in this sausage. That's how I came up with the spices I'm using. Now I'm just going to add the spices I ground up a minute ago. And that's all my dry spices. All right, I've had my turkey in the freezer. You can see it's pretty firmed up pretty good. Partially frozen here. I'm using the dark meat, but you can certainly use the turkey breast if you wanted, or any combination. Just be a slightly different texture. I find the dark meat's a little more flavorful. That's always my preference to eat. So I'm going to grind this up. I had my parts in the freezer, and I'm using my 7mm grinding plate, which is my medium plate. I think I forgot to mention, this is all the turkey skin. That's my fat component. It's always some that gets left behind on the auger, so I usually take a little bit and just run that back through. You can see it pushes the last little bit off. And now we're good to go. Just going to be taking a tiny bit of water. Not using much water because I'm not using a binder in this sausage. I'm going to take some of my orange zest that I zested. Just going to mix it in the water. And I'm going to take a tiny bit of vanilla extract, mix that in the water. And I'm just going to mix these in the water to help me distribute it more evenly throughout my sausage mix. And again, orange zest, vanilla, both things I like in a cranberry sauce. Whatever you like in a cranberry sauce will probably be great in this sausage. If you've seen any of my videos, you know I always use cotton liners underneath my gloves. This keeps my hands from freezing, but really more importantly, keeps my hands from warming up the sausage batter, because keeping it cold during every step of the way, pretty critical to having a good quality sausage. I'm gonna add my vanilla water and orange zest. I'm gonna add my salt and spices, and I'm gonna start mixing. And usually this is just a matter of squeezing, kneading, just trying to get everything distributed and get the protein extracted out of this turkey. It really doesn't take long to come together. This is a very small little 1 kilo batch, so it's gonna go pretty quick, pretty easy. Once it gets pretty homogeneous and is getting close, it's not sticking to my hand that well, but it is sticking a little bit. That's when I'm gonna add my dried cranberries. Dried cranberries, we got to go back to yesterday. So I'm going to dehydrate these cranberries. Cranberries have pretty thick skin and a lot of moisture. It's going to take forever to dry these if the skin stays intact. Several ways to deal with that. Some people will blanch them. I've seen other people put them in the oven. I'm going to do the oven method. So I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of oil. I'm using avocado oil, but any neutral oil would work. I'm using 2 tablespoons for 2 pounds here. And I'm just going to stir that around, get that oil on these cranberries. And the reason for the oil is to help the sugar stick. I'm using about 3/4 cup of sugar. And the reason I'm using sugar here is cranberries are really, really tart. That's why all cranberry sauces are generally sweetened. And I'm just going to spread those out on a baking sheet. So it looks like I'll need 2 baking sheets. I don't know, maybe I can get it all into one. Yeah, probably would have been better to use 2, but that's going into a 450-degree oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. I did end up spreading these out onto 2 cookie sheets. I'm just going to put them in my dehydrator. If you've got one of those good dehydrators with the temperature control, I think you probably want to go around 150. I'm just going to finish this up and dehydrate them overnight. All right, it's kind of lifting my bowl up. We're probably getting pretty close here. I can feel it tugging on my gloves, kind of wanting to pull them off. And I can take a piece of it and it just hangs there. And if you look, you can see it's getting a little furry, some strands reaching out. That's the myosin and actin. Those are the proteins that are being extracted. And we are ready for the stuffer. Just take handfuls. Throw it in there. You don't really have to throw it in there. The more important part is that we push out the air. If you have a really tall stuffer, it's good to throw it in there to get it to the bottom. But like I said, the important part is just to push out all the air. As I've said before, air inside of the sausage, that's kind of your enemy. Got my casings that I've been soaking overnight. I leave them soaking and I flush out the inside too, just to rinse out any salt. First, I like to get some water and lube up the horn. Everybody knows lubed horn slides better. Next, I take my casing and my 2 most useful fingers, stick my fingers in the casing, dip it in the water to get some water inside. Now the inside of my casing is lubed up and my horn is lubed up, so everything should slide just great. I know it's not original, but when I first saw Chud do it, that's what got me hooked on his channel. I was like, did he just really do that? And yes, he does it every time. Now I get the meat to the end, pull my casing over it, tie a knot. I like to poke a hole just to give any air in there somewhere to go. And then I start stuffing. I find that poultry sausages are much looser. They come out of the horn real fast. So you actually have to be pretty careful not to overstuff them. Should be able to grab a piece, pinch it all the way down so that the casing is touching the casing. If you can't pinch it all the way down, it's too tight, you're probably going to burst your sausage. It is better to err on the side of a little too loose, because a little too loose you can make it up by giving it a couple extra twists when you're linking them. That said, if it's too loose, you just won't get a plump sausage. There's always a little left in this part of the stuffer. Sometimes I'll just excavate that, dig it out, stuff it through the horn into my casing. But sometimes I do this little trick. Take a balloon, this is mostly filled with water. I know I've showed you this in a few other videos. I'm going to put this into my stuffer right above that hole. Now that will push out the rest of that farce from this part of the hopper. And because there's water in the balloon, not air, it won't compress and pop. And you can see there's still a little bit, but definitely got most of it. And then you can take the back of a spoon, or if you have one of these tools, you can use it and just push the rest of that meat into your casing. There's definitely a few ways you can link sausages. You can take them, pinch it up here, make sure you're pinching all the way down, twist it away from you, move up to the next one, same thing, pinch it all the way down, and twist that one towards you. Now with the small amount, it's not too hard to keep track of which way you're going, but with the big rope, I sometimes lose track. So what I like to do is come up here, pinch, and instead of twisting that one away from me, I'm gonna go up to the next one and pinch that one, and I'm gonna pinch that one towards me. And then I'm gonna go up to the next one and pinch it, skip to the next one and pinch it, and I'm just gonna go towards me. And this way I'm always going the same direction and I don't lose track. And then at the end, you know, I'm just going to leave that one a nice big daddy. It's okay to have an extra long wiener every once in a while. Then I like to just poke a few holes in each link. That way if any water starts to need to leach out, it can leach out instead of getting stuck between the meat and the casing, which hypothetically, potentially, can lead to your casing not sticking, which will keep you from getting a good snap, which is what everyone wants in a sausage. These are fresh sausages. They're ready to go. You could cook them up. They'll be better if I leave them to dry overnight. If you don't want to leave them overnight, at least put them in front of a fan for a half hour, and that'll dry up the casing, and it'll dry up these little parts in between, which will keep your meat in your sausage when you cut them apart. I'm going to put them on a rack and leave them in my fridge. And that's how I'm going to dry these. And we'll come back to them a little later, give them a taste. Well, my cranberry sausages have been in the fridge overnight. They have dried up. It's like their little twists in between are dry. So let's cut them apart, cook one up. See how we did. All right, I'm really excited to give this one a try. I think this is going to be a pretty unique sausage. Let's cut into it. Oh yeah, all right. I'm liking the looks of that. Big old cranberry. Definitely juicy. Leaking all over my hands. Well, I can tell just from licking the grease off my fingers, I'm going to like this one. Let's give it a taste. That's really good. Oh gosh, all those flavors like the cinnamon, the nutmeg, the allspice, ginger, all of them are just, they're really blending well together. I like the citrus note from the orange peel, vanilla. It's like a really good cranberry sauce in a sausage. I'm liking this a lot better than I thought I would. This is a good one. I definitely will repeat this. I mean, granted, it's kind of a seasonal thing. I mean, you can make it anytime. You can dehydrate frozen cranberries, but it's seasonal kind of with the Thanksgiving cranberry turkey time of year here in the States anyway. But I'm really loving this. This is a really good blend. It was just a great blend of flavors. They're all getting along real well. And yeah, take a look, you know. We got a good bind. This is bound real well. It's got a nice snap to it. Giant pieces of cranberry. It's kind of funny because you dehydrate them and then they rehydrate themselves in the sausage, but they're rehydrating with all the fat and flavor. This is a winner. I'd make it again. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're still watching my channel right now, you should definitely subscribe to it because I have a lot of other content that you would probably enjoy. If you want to go the extra mile, drop me a super thanks. I'm always thankful for that. And whatever you do, make sure you put some love into the food you're making. Peace.